All right.
All right, back in the year 2000, our next guest did not know he suffered from a condition called bipolar disorder. He just thought he was a man on a mission. In a manic high, Bill Zaferos wrote this novel. It's called Poison Pen in the short span of just 3 months. He did not release the novel, though, for another 19 years.
That's right. We're happy to welcome Bill to the Yellow Couch. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I first saw you, met you a couple, last month at the NAMI Walks,
right,
Greater
exactly.
Milwaukee.
Right.
It's a walk for mental health.
Right.
And you were the featured speaker, and you talked about having bipolar disorder.
Right.
And I was impressed. There aren't a lot of people who I think are open about that diagnosis.
Well, I think you have to be. I think that there is no shame in being ill with any condition, and that includes mental illness. So I decided to go public and become an advocate for people who have mental illness, so that they know that there are others out there like them who can actually channel creativity, mental illness into creativity.
So would you say then when you're manic, you felt more creative, and that's because that's clearly when you wrote the book. So is that something that's natural, or you have to learn to be able to channel that?
No, well, yes, you do have to learn to channel it because you can get a little out of control. But during the course of writing this thing, as you said, I was a man on a mission, and the ideas just came to me. The name of the book came to me as I was walking past an old Mac in the family basement. And it's Poison Pen. You should write a book about a guy who writes poison pen letters. And it went from there.
What is a poison pen letter?
It's Nastygram.
Okay.
And this guy writes them for hire. So he writes them for $50 a piece. And he leaves a psychological scar that will last a lifetime, is his pitch.
What kind of things does he write about with his poison pen?
Well, in one case, he writes a letter to a former wife during a nasty divorce. And there's another one where an employee gets in an argument with his boss, and so he asks for a poison pen letter, and he just devastates him.
Is there karma that comes back to him in this book?
No.
No.
No. In fact, I can't say too much about the end because it's...
You don't want to give it away.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Fascinating.
Can you describe what it's like to have bipolar disorder? I think people tend to be more familiar or understand perhaps better depression.
Well, with bipolar, you get a little of both. You get these incredible highs where the ideas just come and you can act on some of them and they're not good ones.
It's sort of a euphoria.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liken it to when I was a newspaper reporter and I was on deadline, the rush of beating the deadline. And when I wrote the book, I felt like I was on deadline the entire time. And
How quickly did you write it?
3 months.
Oh, yeah, 3 months.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And the entire time I felt like I was writing a story for a newspaper, except that in this case I was writing my little missive here.
Why did it take 19 years to publish it?
Well, I thought it wasn't any good. And it's hard to judge your own work. If you think something's great, it might not be.
Right.
And so I gave it to a friend who said to me, "Dude, you got to get this published," which,
That's such a guy thing, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And I said, "That's great. Where do I find a publisher?" And so ultimately, through church, I met a guy named Gene Wright who introduced me to Kira Henschel of Henschel House Books. Kira loved the book, and here it is.
Good for you.
Great.
You're married and have children.
I'm married.
Right.
Yes.
Do you,
Audrey and Melanie are my daughters.
what do you, I think about the fact that often these diagnoses are things that are managed rather than cured. And I think there's probably, you have to get to a point of acceptance with that, which I think would be hard, because most of us, when there's something wrong, we want to fix it and to be cured. But I wonder what you think has been the key to your success and having the health that you have today. Do you have any thoughts for someone out there who struggles with a mental disorder on what to do to cope and manage it and to be able to accomplish things that are meaningful to you in life?
Well, first of all, lean on your family and friends. This is not a one-person syndrome. It involves the entire family. It involves your entire community, and you need to be able to lean on them. But really, the most important thing is to get medical help. When I was first diagnosed, I came into my psychiatrist's office. I was being treated for depression, and I was dressed poorly. And I came in and I was sitting like this in his chair, and he said, "Are you ready to accept that you're bipolar?" I said, "I'm ready to accept just about anything because this has got to stop." And so medical help, but you really have to lean on family and friends, and that can be hard on them. So you have to be aware of that. You can be a lot of fun on a manic high, but the manic lows get really intense for people around you.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that dichotomy between the two, because I've known someone who was bipolar, and I think the issue with medication was he often missed the manic episodes. He felt like he didn't have that edge anymore, and that was something that he missed, and it was kind of that difficulty of feeling balanced.
Right.
And so I think that's something, it's a new normal per se, is to understand a feeling of balance.
Yeah, well, it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good not to be down in the dumps, and it feels good not to feel like you've got to do 100 things in the same day, or else you failed. So I don't miss that. I still have my edge. I'm writing a second novel, and I don't think that I would go back at all to what I had.
Good for you.
It's been so nice to meet you. I'm glad that our paths crossed at the walk, and I appreciate what you do to speak out about mental illness and what you're doing to help raise awareness. Good for you.
Well, thank you.
It's great.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Is this book going to take you a little
Thank you.
longer to write the second one?
Well, it's harder to market the book than it is to write the book.
Yes,
And
I've
that's what
heard
I'm
that.
working on. So, I'm able to write in spurts, but I'm busy pushing this one too.
We'll come back and talk about your next book then. Too.
I
We
will.
love that. Look
I
forward
will.
to seeing you again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Bill.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, here's the information for a book signing coming up. It's Tuesday, July 2nd. It's at 7 o'clock at Boswell Book Company, right on Downer. You can learn more at poisonpenbook.com. Thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
it.
My pleasure.